Khaya, I understand you have with you the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC for the party's response to this matter that has preoccupied everyone today.
Well, absolutely, Vuyo. That has been a very much sweeping reaction from far and wide, especially in South Africa. Degree of outrage expressed, given the very content of the tweet by the US president. Others have gone as far as saying it's been very crude and very offensive. But now, let's get the reaction from the governing party here in South Africa. And joining us now is the DSG, the Deputy Secretary General of the party, Jessie Duarte. And ma'am, I'm just going to ask you, just to get your fleeting reaction to the tweet.
Well, I think it's outrageous that the President of the United States would repeat an inaccurate statement made by a journalist on a television station. But it's also an indictment on the people like AfriForum and the DA who've been peddling untruths about the land reform process throughout the world. And now what has happened is, the result is, they've in fact caused a president of a country where we have good diplomatic relationships with, we have good trade relationships with, to make a statement that has outraged many, many of us. We believe that the government's reaction has been correct, to ask the United States State Department to explain what this means, because firstly, the land reform process is meant to deal with a very complex issue in our own country. We're talking as South Africans. We are having hearings. We are doing it responsibly. We're going around looking at it from a constitutional point of view. We'd also like our constitution to enable us to do land reform in a just manner that every South African will be able to feel satisfied and happy about. However, what this brings home is that if AfriForum continues to take the view that they and only they have a right to not respect the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, to not respect the Parliament, to not respect the majority view of the people of this country, and to go out of their way to enable lies to be told in other countries, we will have to ask ourselves a hard question. Should we have AfriForum as a spokesperson for white South Africans? Is this what it is? Because the spokesperson for South Africa is the President of the Republic of South Africa. He speaks for all of us. And I think the President has given assurances about where we intend to go with this and how inclusive this must be, and that everybody in this country has to be a part of the solution to an age-old problem of restoring the dignity and the rights of black people of this country. And it's unfortunate that the truth of the matter is that since his election, the message of President Trump comes across as very Afro-pessimistic, both in his own land, but he's only appointed 5 ambassadors for 54 countries in Africa, and we're not one of those. We do not have a U.S. ambassador in South Africa, and that's probably why the U.S. government is so ill-informed. And they're relying on a small organization like AfriForum with a very narrow focus on everything to inform them. So this is not going to detract us from the course that we've set as the ANC, nor will it give us a view that we should not continue to seek to have good relationships with the United States. We will. But what it does do for us is to give us the courage to, in fact, continue and deepen our work in ensuring that all South Africans will be on board to understand that we cannot have a situation where 70% of privately owned land are in the hands of a white minority in this country. And it is not a race question, this. It is a question of dispossession of land. land hunger, the utilization of land for food security in many parts of the country, doing it responsibly, working with farmers, whether they're black or white, making sure that where land has to be restored to the families that were dispossessed, it is done so properly. And in terms of the Constitution, making sure that we change the Constitution in such a way that we can expedite land restoration in South Africa. So I think that it is really unfortunate. And it is unfortunate that the crude remarks of, I must say, a rather crude TV presenter is what informs the President of the United States. And we hope that very soon we will see the State Department providing an explanation to the people of this country and telling us what informs that. If they're informed by AfriForum and the DA, they are being misled. And we hope that they will engage us and hear from us.
And DSG, we know that, for example, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, they spoke about engaging with the representatives from the U.S. diplomatic mission. Do you think this will cause a diplomatic row between Washington and Pretoria? And how do we try to save the bilateral relations? Because, for example, now there is an issue around the preferential trade agreement, AGOA, for example. And we know for some time the U.S. has been helping us in terms of funding HIV and AIDS program, for example. So how do we try and save, just in terms of the bilateral relations that we have?
We think that there are many good things and many good programs that we have with the United States government. Obviously, the most important thing to do is to engage. And so the whole reason for requesting an engagement by DIRCO is precisely to do that, to ask for clarity and an explanation. And that's really what diplomats are there for, is to ask for clarity and an explanation. And we must accept that it has hurt. This tweet has hurt many people in this country. And we don't believe that it will harm our relationships with the U.S. government or the people of the United States. It's very hard for me to believe that all the people of the United States believe what is being said in that tweet. I find that very hard to believe, I must be honest. I think that one of the great lessons of this tweet is that there must always be a factual basis upon which the most senior politicians in any country engage on any matter. And we hope that the engagement will move in that direction. So, yes, it was unfortunate, but it does not detract us. It does not put us in a state of flurry. I think what we as South Africans must expect is that any discussion on reformation of the land, restoration of the land to black people, will inevitably draw ire from people in the USA, in the UK, in the other parts of the European Union, and we must expect that, but we must not be detracted. We must be ready to explain our position and explain it, as our President did in Parliament yesterday, very clearly. You know, we're not looking at nationalization of the land. We don't agree with that. We want to restore land to those people who've been dispossessed. We want to be able to expropriate land that is even in the hands of municipalities for projects to develop our country. Why not? We want to do what we need to do to develop our country and restore the dignity of the majority of the people. A simple matter for us. It may look complex to other people, but to us, this is an important injustice of the past to correct.
Right, thank you so much indeed to the ANC DSG, Jessie Duarte, really putting us into perspective about the governing party's reaction and also reassuring the nation that the land reform process will be done in making sure that the economy of the country is not endangered and the agricultural output and its very vital role as well is certainly preserved. So back to you in Studio Vuyo.
Our reporter Khayelehla Khumalo speaking there to the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress.